welcome again to this little webinar on the topic of the art of presence in communication. I've chosen the Pecha Kucha format, or you can call it the Pecha Kucha format, which is PowerPoint, yes, and we all don't like PowerPoint, but it's exactly 20 slides, and every slide is on for exactly 20 seconds. The whole thing is an auto run, so are you ready? Great, because in the next exactly 400 seconds, I will talk about the why I think it's important to be more present these days, more charismatic in your daily communication. What you can do to increase this presence, how you're going to achieve that, and just imagine, what if you would be already there? Now let me introduce you to my little daughter, Julie. What does she need all the time? Yes, exactly. She needs the same like what we all need. She needs our love and our attention. And, just in other words, she needs our presence. Now, for babies, being present is a very natural state. They don't think about the past or the future. They only care about the now. For us adults, if we want to convince anybody, including our kids, we need to be fully present. But what keeps us from being more present and more in the now? Yes, exactly. Our fears and anxieties. Fritz Perls put it like this: anxiety is the gap between now and later. So as long as we are present, we don't have any time to worry. And speaking of having no time, what time is it again? Here's a little tip for you. Make it a habit to be more in the now. How? Just let go any thoughts about your past and those about your future. And maybe try that for 5 minutes every morning. Or you want to start meditating or increase your meditation forms regularly and experience how much more present you become. You can do that for 5 or 10 minutes, for an hour. It doesn't really matter, but it will soon shift your own consciousness. And additionally, you might want to read a book or two or attend a course to practice this virtue, which is actually the ultimate key to more presence and to be more charismatic. And even a fast Pecha Kucha speech, we do have time to be fully present. Now take a deep breath in. And relax. And just notice what your mind is doing. Are you listening to my voice? Or do you read the text? Or do you wonder how being more present can help you in your communication? The key to an outstanding speech or presentation is not what most people think. Now, what do you believe? Any ideas? Before we come to this, let me tell you this. Yes, you need to know the basics about communication. How to structure a speech, how to deliver what you've prepared in a very efficient and effective way, how to use your body and how to use your voice, and all of those things. They are very, very important indeed. But these are just basic skills, and very important, obviously, for successful communication, and particularly every time you give a speech. But with these skills alone, you will not win your audience. Because the most important aspect is, and yes, you've guessed it, to be fully present in this moment and to be very charismatic to win your audience. So the key to be charismatic and authentic, to be fully connected with any single person in your audience, and also to maintain this rapport during your speech, is this: to be present in the here and in the now. Just like Bill Gates, for example, my childhood hero, when he speaks. And one of the many benefits when you are present is this: that you can focus on the audience rather than on what you want to say. So you can practice actually your listening skills much more than your speaking skills. And this is a real asset very few people know. So this presence can be achieved in many different ways. For example, with ultra high energy and power and empathy. Like you can experience it with persons like Tony Robbins or Richard Branson. And by the way, if you have ever experienced Tony Robbins on stage, you know what I'm talking about. This is phenomenal. Or equally effective with a complete opposite energy. Being calm, gentle, loving, yeah, even enlightened. And they all have at least one thing in common. They are fully present. They are fully in the now. And what is even more important than train yourself to be more aware and to be more present? Yes, exactly. To enjoy yourself, to have fun and enjoy the whole process, because we all know what it's all about, don't we? It's not about just the practicing the training, it's about having fun. Now here are a few book recommendations for you. There are all kinds of great resources out there, but I've chosen 3 specific books, and which are most loved of all of those books I've read about the topic is The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. The other 2 are also very, very good to give you an idea of what it means to be more here, more present. Or you can sign up for a training or a course. And for example, I have created a 2-day high immersive speaking workshop where the participants will learn and practice not only the science, what you can, for example, see here right now, but particularly the art of communication. And of course, include some great exercises how to be more present. And I would like to thank you right now already for giving me your full presence for these 400 seconds. And for those of you who have a bit more time, yes, be welcome to be my guest. If you're interested more in the bootcamp, visit livelifefull.com/bootcamp. I will give you some more information later on. So let me switch back now to here. Just hold on. And I'm going back here. Well, welcome back. This was the Pecha Kucha format, and I hope you could follow those slides I had there. And what I would like to do right now is move on to a little Q&A session. Obviously, this was just 7 minutes about a few of the highlights I've experienced about it. And while you eventually might think about questions you can ask me this afternoon, let me give you just one example of what's happened to me when I decided to really go or explore the idea of what does it really mean to be more present when I give speeches or presentations or trainings or even in daily communication. And this gift you can give other people to be completely there, nobody else or anybody else in the past or the future. So what happened 3 years ago, this was really amazing. I was living with my wife in Canada, in Toronto, and one of my mentors, Ross McKay, we sat together in a smaller group, and I asked him about his favorite book. And he said, yeah, my favorite book is from Og Mandino, The Greatest Salesman in the World. And he looked at me with quite expectations, and I said, oh, well, you don't know that, Moritz? I no, never heard. Oh, yeah. So he told me who Og Mandino was. And he was more or less the childhood hero of Ross. And Ross is now in his mid-60s. He's an absolute bespoken public speaker. He is a trainer. He's a phenomenal, present person in himself. And he told me the story about 30 years ago when already he was in Toronto at that time, when he signed up for I think 2-day course with Og Mandino. So he came to Toronto. And the goal of Ross was to actually not only attend, but to shake hands with Og Mandino, with his hero, with the best speaker he ever got known. And at that time, he told me he already was rather into the game. He knew how to express himself and all that. So on day 2, rather relatively to the end, he had the opportunity with just 20, 30 people to shake hands with him and just say something. And he saw him coming, so one person after the other. And in this moment, I mean, Ross, you have to picture he is 1.90 meters, quite big, 100-something kilos, somebody who really you cannot overlook. And in that moment, this Og Mandino stands in front of him. He actually said, hello. He started stuttering. Yeah, he started stuttering. He was so nervous, and I was just laughing out loud. It was so hilarious that Ross, so my mentor, one of the coolest people I ever met, admitted that he could not even speak for three words, not talking about a whole sentence to Ogmandino. And I said, Ross, this is so inspiring, this is so cool that you actually shook hands with him. So you know where I will go next week? I said, no, tell me, Morris. I will go to Chicago, I'll fly to Chicago and attend the Tony Robbins seminar, 4 days. And you have seen them in the slides. He's also one of my great teachers. And I talked to Ross. Ross, if you have shaken hands with Ogmandino, I will do the very same with Tony Robbins. And he said, yeah, good luck with that. And I didn't know what he meant. A week later, actually, I knew. Because what's happened, I have never been to any Tony Robbins event, and I didn't know that there will be 5,000 participants for this 4-day training, 5,000. And for these relatively cheap tickets I bought, I was obviously sitting in the very last rows. And there was no way to get even close to Tony Robbins, who was on stage. And there was all kind of security and so many people. And in the beginning, I didn't see any way to connect with him. And because I have promised Ross, I mean, yeah, I will shake hands with him. Yeah? And you might ask, why do I tell you the whole story here about Tony Robbins? And for me, it has not been about the content and what I've learned, which was very, very great, of course. But I've read that in books and in audiobooks, and I do this stuff for so many years. The reason why I originally signed up for being with Tony Robbins in the same room for a few days is to experience how he speaks, how he delivers, how he is so present with the whole audience. Because those people I know who have attended there said you have to experience this to believe it. I said, okay, that's the reason why I'm there. And yes, I can tell you, everybody of these 5,000, and it doesn't matter to whom you speak, they all have this feeling, Tony Robbins is only speaking to me, just to me alone. And that alone was good enough. It was really cool. But then, yeah, I remembered on day 4, on the last day, about 2 hours, it was I think 9 p.m. or 10 p.m., just 2 hours before we would end the seminar. I said, yeah, I told Ross that I would shake hands with him. So how on earth can I do this? And I found a way, I found a kind of creative way to do this, to get on stage with a couple of other people, 10 people or so. And the real cool part of this story is this. We have been, let's say 15, not 10, but 15 people on the stage, and the other 4,800, whatever, in the audience. And we all knew that we would actually shake hands with him and had a very brief chat with Tony Robbins. I mean, Tony Robbins, he is 2 meters something. He is massive. He's big. Yeah? And I knew he talked to a few people for 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 5 seconds, whatever. And then he came to me. And lucky enough, I remember the story from Ross. So I did not start it stuttering, which was a good thing. And I did thought about what I can ask him. And I don't remember the details, and these are not important. And it felt like, maybe it was shorter, but it felt like I talked with him for 2, 3, or even 4 minutes. He looked me, so he touched my shoulders. We had the hands together, so a real firm handshake. And he looked not dead in my eyes, but really with all the compassion, with all this empathy, he looked right through me and was completely with me. And believe me that, I've never ever experienced anything similar with somebody who was that present in this moment. Let's say it was 2 minutes, and I don't know exactly. But those 2 minutes, he just asked so many intense questions, and not questions he asked anybody, but just exactly on what I told him before. So it felt for me, and this is the moral of the short story I share here with you, it felt to me that really in that time nothing else on the whole planet mattered to him more than this very moment he spoke to me. And obviously I don't think that I'm that important or that different. He gives that feeling to anybody who have this opportunity, who have this gift actually to experience so much presence. So let's say these 2 minutes were life-changing for me, because then when the whole event was over and I get back to Toronto, I really said, wow, I want to learn this. And some of you know me a bit better, and if you go into some kind of training, psychological training, for example, NLP, there are models, there are tools how you can learn that. And I've tried to connect that and bring that whenever I give speeches. So for more than 7 years, I'm a Toastmaster, and I since this moment, like 3 years ago, I even more try to be very present also when I speak to a group of people. And this is something I absolutely admire. So Tony is, of course, not the only one you can learn from, but very, very inspiring that moment. So I wanted to share that with you. And eventually by now, you have some ideas or questions for yourself how you want to approach that and how you eventually think of how you can become more present, or eventually think of some exercises. So feel free to type something here in the chat, help me out with your questions, or maybe you have anecdotes or any ideas I should talk about, because obviously I very much value your time and your presence when you're still with me here. I'll just give you a few seconds. Yeah, Peter is writing something. Go ahead. Oh, you shook hands with him too. That is great. And please don't tell me, oh, it was just so boring and I didn't feel anything. Oh yes, his hands are very huge. You're absolutely right. But he didn't crash our hands. Even my wife was there, and very much, again, in the moment, depending on what the other person needs. I think even his handshake is very different. Now, to all those sort of you who are still in, do you have any questions on how I eventually can help you to become more in this now? Oh, great question. Thank you, Christian. What is so special about the power of now? I think you referred to the book. I got it from Eckhart Tolle. What is really special about this book is that after, I don't know, 10, 15 pages into it, you are in a complete different world. Things which before were very important, like all your personal stuff you have going on, in your relationships or with your kids, your parents, particularly what is very important in your business. You have all kinds of ideas and all kinds of obstacles you see, and depending, of course, on how you tick, but most people, no, the coach is speaking here, but most people are worried about something in the future. And if you read this book, and he's so gentle, he's so calm, or even you can listen to him, which is even more fascinating, because he talks so slowly and he's so connected with him, and then every sentence makes so much sense, because after 10 minutes or 10 pages, it really doesn't matter. There is no past and there is no future any longer. He really teaches you about all those virtues and about everything, what is important and why it is important to only be here and now. There's nothing else. And if you take this quote I had before from Fritz Perls, what anxiety is everything what happens is the gap between now and later. So as long as you are here in the now, there are no worries, and literally it is that. And you can reach such a state by meditating, by doing incantations, by doing all kinds of techniques and adapting that, and eventually change your habits, which is particularly, by the way, great before you give a speech or important presentation. Maybe you have a corporate presentation, or you give a speech in front of 20 people or 100 people, or even when you give a webinar like this. How do you prepare for that? How can you be fully in the now? Okay, so maybe this gives you a very brief idea, Christian, and thank you for that question. Anya, many speakers seem to me sort of artificial. Do you stick too much to their way of delivering? Or, well, let me give you an idea of your first sentence. Definitely, yeah. What is speaking? What is communication? Let's start with that. Yeah, people who communicate, usually the main purpose is to influence other people. And many people, from my experience as well, which I listen to or watch presenting or speaking, they try to convey something which they are not. So they are inauthentic, and I would agree with you, because they try to overdo it, they try to oversell something, they try to, copy eventually role models from them. There's nothing wrong with that, but they lose what makes them special. And my experience is that audiences particularly react very, very positive to people who are really authentic. And even if you start stuttering, and if this is part of your thing, well, this makes you very human, very authentic. So the opposite from what you and I, we both experience way too often. And there is, of course, also a concept of preparing too much for a speech or a presentation, all that. Yeah, and that's what I wanted to say with this one slide. I guess it's rather than training all those speaking skills, which is so important, but at a certain stage you want to go further and train your listening skills and actually tune in, have this rapport with your people. Okay. Anya, SRI, do you stick too much to their way of delivering? What do you mean, Anya? I don't get it 100%. So before I start talking too much about anything which you didn't meant, please feel free, thank you, to elaborate a bit more here. Oh, okay, always good. By the way, you don't have to do for me, because also when we talk about speaking, I do believe there's nothing like a perfect speech, and there shouldn't be something like a perfect speech, because every time we thrive towards perfection, we are just limiting ourselves. Yeah, and I have that all the time. Again, some of my mentees in Toastmasters, they struggle a lot in their beginning, that they try to have the perfect speech, yeah? And then they really try to overcook it, which is the thing which normally absolutely is just stands in the way. And rather than try to be perfect in anything, even especially in coaching, I see that very often. Rather than striving to be perfect in anything, just try to be your best self. So right now I have some kind of skills and experience, and I try to deliver my best self, my best webinar I can right now. And this is all I can promise myself, I can promise to you. I do, of course, hope that you get some value out of this webinar, and I do value that you spend your half an hour here with me. But that's all I can do. Yeah? Is this a perfect webinar? Oh no, by no means. And it never meant to be. Because if it would be, I potentially would have prepared 2 weeks, yeah, and still would mess it up. So therefore, this is not the thing I do it. John, what's the best way to prepare for or be present during a speech? Very good. What I do before a speech is I do certain incantations. Incantations are, very briefly, because I look at the clock here, we have 2 or 3 minutes left, is to tell yourself over and over again what will happen right now. So you put yourself in a state, so you can talk about being in a peak state where you're absolutely confident that right now you will deliver what you have prepared. This can be very energetic. This can be very calm, depending on the purpose, of course. So I do this for 5 minutes, putting me really in this state, relaxing. Breathing is a huge thing. So I have a lot of breathing exercises, which I do before, which I do also in this boot camp. For those of you who are interested, I will send you a link for a website which will go live hopefully today or eventually tomorrow, because I'm very excited to have a 2-day workshop, about 20 something hours we will spend together, and really practice all those things and go absolutely in the details. Not only to be more present, more charismatic, and then to have these breathing exercises, to have short meditation forms. Yeah? You don't have to become a Buddhist practicing 15 years in a lotus seat. No, not at all. But they're so effective meditation forms for, let's say, 3 or 5 minutes, as low as that, which can set you in a state where you are so relaxed before a speech, John, that you can then way more connect to the audience, and you're way more, and I repeat myself, you're present. Thank you for that question. Yeah, that's very good. So if you have other questions, because this is really, I do care about a few topics, but those topics, one is communication and how to communicate better in our society here. This is one of that, and this is why I have this workshop. By no means this webinar should be a sales pitch, really, and I'm not good in that either, so this is not the intention. But for those of you who have interest, just drop me an email, and also if you have other questions which we couldn't cover in this half an hour, drop me an email as well, and I'm more than happy to try to point you to ideas or give you more resources and to help you on your way to practice that for yourself and to be step by step and preparation by preparation, speech by speech, to become more authentic, more in the now, and more relaxed with all that. And that would be my wish. And as a little recap, Thank you so much that you spent the time with me until the end. Yes, a whole half an hour, which is really great. Have a great time, and yes, I will be more than happy to see you on any occasion at Toastmasters, at this bootcamp, or wherever here in the world. Have a fantastic evening and take care. Bye-bye.